want me so bad. Got me thinking that we could last forever. I blink and you're gone. Why'd you have to fall me like we used to go to. Now it's all but over. Every breath is colder. Look over my shoulder. Now I see what I fell into. Now I see you were showing me, showing me, showing me. Fake love that I couldn't see wasn't true. Left me with these memories, memories, memories. Now I'm missing somebody I knew, and I know it wasn't you. Why'd you have to fool me like that? Caught me into. Now tell me that you love me. Keep me guessing. And whisper that you want me so bad. Got me thinking that we can last forever. I blink and you're gone. Why'd you have to fool me like
A real clockwork soldier.
Generation Orange in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Generation Orange. My name is Edson Ochoa, and I am accompanied by my co-host, Sean Ringrose. Sean, what's up, man?
What's up?
Well, that's it. That's our show for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next. No, I'm just kidding, guys. No,
Shut it down.
No, guys. No, really, guys. Appreciate every one of you that is watching the stream right now. We're gonna have a good discussion based podcast tonight. We're going to be topping a bunch of discussions that have come up in social media throughout the week, related to the Dynamo, related to the Dash, related to RGV as well. So we really would appreciate y'all's. Let me know. Okay, we really would appreciate y'all's input in the chat as well as in the phone lines. They are open. Phone lines are open. The phone number is right there. We go. Right up there. 956-622-5977. Once again, 956-622-5977. If you guys have not liked this video, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to share it with your friends. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Although I'm pretty sure most of you that are watching right now are good. All our good friends, are good Generation Orange buddies. And we actually have something different for you tonight. Sean, what is it?
We do.
Yeah.
I mean, the ticket giveaway?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know
I'm
you obviously had something in mind specifically when you said we have something new for you guys. Or something different. I don't know. Are you talking about the discussions? I'm totally lost and confused. I have no idea what you were pointing out or talking about.
The tickets, man.
Oh, okay. So the tickets. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So we have a pair of Houston Dash tickets to give away tonight, guys. So here's how this is going to work. If you are in the chat tonight at any point throughout the show, we will give the tickets away sometime in the second hour. I'm not going to say exactly when, sometime in the second hour. But if you were in the YouTube chat in the 15 minutes before, and we will let you know roughly when it's going to take place in the YouTube chat, or so that you have time to do this. But we'll have a phrase that you say in the chat. If you say that phrase, you're entered into the drawing. You get an entry, or 2 entries. We will also tweet out this giveaway throughout the show, tweet it out once during the show, probably really soon, talking about this giveaway. If you retweet this and you're in the YouTube chat, you will get an extra entry into the drawing tonight for the 2 Dash tickets. On top of that, if you get other people to retweet or follow, specifically follow us as a result of retweeting it, you will get an extra entry. And I have ways of checking this, so just so y'all know, I'm on it tonight. We're gonna have fun with this tonight. It's gonna be pretty great. Nice typo there, Edson.
Seems legit. Yeah, I just. Hello.
Guys, again, reminder real quick. Tonight is meant to be, we want to chat with you guys. We want to talk to you guys. We want to discuss. We want tonight to be an open forum kind of night. So whatever you guys want to talk about is open game. That includes whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's soccer related. No hockey talk tonight, or NFL draft talk, or MLB or NBA. None of those 4 things.
What about Champions League?
I will take Champions League, actually. I'm more than okay talking Champions League. We can even talk CONCACAF Champions League, and Edson can hang his head in shame. Just like I will if we talk Champions League. So it's all good, Edson. It's all good. I mean, to be fair, both our teams lost by the same scoreline.
Wait, weren't you the one, sorry to derail, but weren't you the one that said that Tigres was going to steamroll Monterrey?
It's only 1 match. I'm still confident Tottenham's going to come out ahead against Ajax. So, we'll see, right? I mean, they could still prove me right, and then you'll be like, Sean was right, and that was the most amazing thing in the world. But guys, as a reminder, the phone lines are open. I know Edson just said that a couple of minutes ago, but I want to repeat that: 956-622-5977. please call in. Please talk to us. Tell us what you want to talk about. I have 2 specific things that I want to talk about this week on the show and discuss in depth, in detail. Number one is something Cisco brought up with me earlier this week, and then he happened to tweet it out, and we happened to kind of have some fun with it. Guys, we talked about this last year. We talked about it the year before that. We've talked about this for the last 3 or 4 seasons, that there's been all this talk from so many people that are fans that claim that the Dynamo need to spend more money in order to be competitive in the league. And they look at our salaries and say, that's why we're not competitive in the league. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, Cisco brought this up, but those excuses seem to have gone away now that the Dynamo are playing about as outstanding of soccer as you can play. They right now are playing incredibly well. And you noticed that a lot of the naysayers and the detractors specific to salary talk or specific to the players aren't good enough or whatever it may be around that, they've quieted down significantly. You're always going to have your ones that are still hanging out, that are still the negative Nancy's that are never going to go away. Miguel Sada, I'm calling you out right now. But there are a lot of those so-called fans who, even though the Dynamo have not done a whole lot different this year over what they did last year in terms of personnel changes or things like that, because of how good they're playing, it's become much more of a non-issue for most fans. So that's incredible, and I want to discuss that. I want to dive into why that is, what it, where it's coming from, how it works, that kind of thing. I want to talk obviously about the dash. That's another talking point I want to dive into about what happened on Sunday, and I hope Jake calls in because I'm sure he's got thoughts related to that. Jake, I'm hoping you can hold off until like 8 o'clock ish so we can have you on right around 8 o'clock to talk dash. To talk about the Dash North Carolina match. I'm pretty sure he's going to call in at 8 o'clock now that I've asked him to. And then I want to talk about this other thing related to local media coverage. Glenn has talked about it this week, and I want to elevate this discussion even further. I tweeted something out from the Gen Orange account yesterday. And I want to really talk about that and really dive into it. And I want you guys to sound off tonight. Trust me, my blood is boiling over a few different things, and there's nothing better than sounding off in a group setting, especially when the team is doing well. And there are things that we can focus on to try to improve things. Thank you, Jake. You're amazing. Just want to say that. Also, that picture that Edson got, it was really amazing, and I hope you use that as like a profile pic on something because it was great with the flag. That was cool. Good job, Edson, on that picture, by the way.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about that, Jacob, and roster size, and some of the things tied to that, and where the restrictions come into play. And we've talked about those types of things before, but I do think there is some benefit. Jesus, my thing is blowing up right now. I'm going to mute my phone. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but that's like 7 things in a row. Who's retweeting my stuff? It's all y'all's fault. It's Edson.
What did I do?
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No, you mean Jeff?
I mean, all good things must come to an end, Callow. Even Villa's, 10-game win streak, it had to come to an end at some point. So, but I want to talk also about. So there's something else I wanted to talk about that I haven't mentioned to Edson yet, and it's interesting to me. And I think it is. I don't know. I'm going to bring it up, and I want to see how people feel about it. It's just a very interesting thing that I happened to see on Twitter earlier today, and kind of made me go, "Huh? What?" type of thing. So that's going to be what we're talking about tonight. So again, we don't have a lot in terms of like time coverage. We haven't figured out the whole show, but we know what we want to talk about, and we'll dive in as deep as we can on it, and talk about it as much as we can. But to help this show be as good as it can be, guys, I hope and pray you guys stay engaged and involved throughout the whole show. But I definitely appreciate you guys being here and watching. First and foremost, that is amazing. You guys are amazing. Without you guys, this show has no purpose, no point in being. So thank you for doing your part by being involved and getting engaged and watching the show on a regular basis. We really do appreciate it. And for all of you that watch in syndication, like watch after the fact on YouTube, thank you as well. That's huge, and we really appreciate that as well. We know sometimes it can be really hard to catch the entire 2 or sometimes 3 hours live. But for those that are able to catch at least the majority of the show live, we super appreciate that. But even those that watch it back later, we appreciate it as well. So real quick, I'm going to let Edson talk about Toros stuff. So we'll actually launch with some Toros stuff, which means, Jacob, you're on deck. No pressure, though. No pressure. But I'm going to go and use this opportunity to tweet about the ticket giveaway later on in the second hour. So, guys, I'm going to let Edson take over with some RGV Express to kick off the show.
All right, guys. So this week has been pretty interesting for the Toros. They played last Wednesday, right? They played last Wednesday at Los Angeles Galaxy 2. It was a thriller. That's all. I mean, it was a fun match, but it got my blood boiling like right after the fact. And here's why. So we were. So the Toros were losing in the first half 1-0, and then in the second half, the Toros put in their big guns due to the short turnaround between Saturday and Wednesday. They decided to rest some players and then to try and kind of rotate the roster. But then, the LA Galaxy found themselves a goal in the first half. Coach Echeverri decided to put in their big guns like right after in the second half when he made the substitutions. Right after the LA Galaxy found themselves another goal, losing 2-0 down with a lot of in a counterattack, and so then it was a quick turnaround by the Toros. They scored their first goal by Michael Salazar. They were able to tie. They even actually turned the score around. They were winning 3-2 like in the 80-something minute. And then it was just a bunch of defensive mistakes for the Toros. In a corner kick, LA Galaxy 2 tied it 3-3. Then a couple minutes later, Michael Salazar, to complete his hat trick, scored the fourth goal. And then in a 96th minute in stoppage time, the Toros gave up another goal to tie the game 4-4. Tyler Derrick was playing for the Toros, but like I said, they were playing with some rotation players that some of them had not played minutes with RGV in this USL Championship season. So it was an interesting match, and we have a call right now. Welcome to Generation Orange. Who are we speaking with? Hello.
Did you?
There we go.
There.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Jacob?
Yes, it is.
Hey, what's going on, Jacob?
Who else is calling in to talk RGV with you, Edson? I mean, come on, let's be real.
Out.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What's up, Jacob?
What's up? What's up, Sean? Yeah, of course, it was a great game for RGVFC to just, come from behind, really. Of course, knowing me and loving superstition, I could not watch the rest of the game due to the fact that, let's see here, we came back after being down 2-0. I turned it off when we were down 2-0, and then right after that, you know the whole story. But one thing that is really concerning to me is the fact that no more Connor Donovan for at least this Portland Timbers 2 game.
All right, yeah, that's the thing, and it was weird, Jacob, because nobody batted an eye after the match about it. It wasn't announced in the broadcast, but then you looked. I think you were the one that brought it up on the chat. You looked at the timeline in the USL Championship Match Center for that game, and you saw that Connor Donovan got a red card for unsportsmanlike conduct or violent unsportsmanlike conduct or something like that. And and we're like, whoa, what happened? Like, what's going on? Why did they put a red card to him? And till this date, there's been no explanation by the league to explain why he was given a red card.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, you're talking about, well, getting the starting 11 probably at around 8 o'clock, not seeing him on that starting 11 and thinking who's going to replace and who can really step up to play against this really good Portland Timbers 2 team. I know that we kind of talked about it last week, saying that, well, Portland Timbers 2, they're coming out of the brink of basically death. And what I mean by that is just, well, they were no good about a couple of years ago, and then they started to pick up, and now look at where Portland Timbers 2 are. So who's going to be able to control this attack for the Toros is going to be interesting. Yes, we have a solid back line. Of course, probably no Tyler Derrick, and you're going to have Nico Cordy at goal. But, of course, Nico Cordy can't just make all the stops himself. And, of course, yes, the Toros will probably have a good attack as well. But this is another game in, 4 to 5 days. So this team is going to be tired, maybe 6 days, but this team's going to be tired. So it's going to be a tough match just in general for this Toros team.
Yeah, and then let's not forget that they have Todd Warden now. You know, Captain Toro is now just during the offseason hailed his allegiance to Timbers 2. and so now he's in enemy lines now, and you can't tell I'm crying, right? But it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, if he plays against the Toros. How much does having an ex-Toro on their team going to help them out in this match? Will be interesting to see that.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Edson, is there some reason that I'm the only video that's currently running, Edson?
Oh, right there we go.
Thanks.
Because I went to go check somebody.
Yeah. You don't have to explain yourself. I just wanted to make sure, because I'm sitting there going, man, everybody's, I'm sure, enjoying staring at me, looking at my screen. Like that was great podcast right there.
Don't you know it's the Sean Ringrose show?
No, it is not. Go ahead, Jacob. I want to hear you continue. You're amazing. Apparently, you're Callow's favorite DITV host, by the way, Jacob.
Well, I do what I can, so anytime. It's going to be a very tough match, at least given the fact is that it's a West Coast swing, so this team's already used to the time change, so that's a good thing. But other than that, it's going to be I don't know. Most likely it'll be a 4-3-2-1 if I had to guess or a 4-2-3-1, something like that, if I had to guess from Coach Gerson. But it's just going to be a struggle. You have now that player that knows Gerson Echeverry as well, and he knows his game plan. He knows what's going to happen. But with Todd Wharton, yes, you can probably easily stop him, but guess who could stop that player? Connor Donovan. You're looking at this younger team that is the Toros. Yes, I think David Cabrera will be fine on that offensive line with Wilmer Cabrera Jr., but it's going to be interesting to see what this defensive line can do. Are we going to see another crazy goal-scoring affair just like we saw a week ago? I'd be fine with that, but I don't know what's going to necessarily happen, and yeah, it's going to be a struggle for this Toros team.
It's interesting to me to watch the Toros because it's almost like this tale of two teams. Like either they're pretty solid defensively and they don't score a lot of goals, or they're going to go score a bunch of goals, but they're going to give up a bunch too. Like there's no in between with this team. It feels like it's either, they have one side of the ball figured out, but they can't get both at the same time right now. And and some of that, we talk about it all the time, that younger players, especially your USL level, one of the things that they struggle with, it's a major struggle, is inconsistency and being able to remain consistent. And so that tends to, explains some of that. But I still think there's just, something has to, certain players I think have to take some ownership in that as well. But I think there is something to be said, and we've talked about it before, Edson, and I know I've brought it up on y'all's show as well, that, that travel, when you have a player who isn't practicing with the RGV team for the entire week, and then you thrust them out there, as goalkeeper or center back or outside back or, defensive midfielder, whatever it may be, that lack of communication that exists is tough to overcome in a match where the other team's been preparing for more than a week together. They've got that chemistry. I mean, we see the difference in terms of how chemistry works in looking at the Dynamo this season versus last season. The players that have been together on the Dynamo for, since the bulk of last season or longer, those are the players that are your standout players right now, besides Kiki Struna and Minor Figueroa. But your AJD and Albert Elise connection, your Memo Rodriguez and Tomas /Maro connection, et cetera. It just, I don't understand why, and maybe the Dynamo are pressuring Gerson to play those players. But if I'm the Dynamo, I want those players to come in, I want those players to be there 2 days before a match, practice at least one practice, and earn it in that practice. Prove to me that you deserve that spot over somebody who's been here the whole week and busted their butts to earn their spot as it was. I think if there's one thing that I struggle with between the RGV Dynamo, partnership, it's got to be that we keep sending players, and yes, they get minutes that way, but are they really quality minutes if all they're doing is going out there and playing, but they're losing that they're losing that time to, grow that chemistry, to grow that connection, to practice communication with each other, and that familiarity. These are all things that you can't breed when you only have a player, bouncing back and forth between the two teams. So that's something I personally struggle with. And I wanted to get Jacob's opinion on that before Edson speaks.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and you talked about that really well, and you bring up a great point. But there's, of course, the players that were the draft picks as well. And yes, especially one person that I can't put my mind on right now, but one person that's been sent back to Houston and back down to, I think it might be Isidro Martinez, if I'm not mistaken, or someone like that, where he's with an MLS contract. But then, of course, he gets sent down back down to RDV and basically an RGVFC player. But, of course, doesn't practice with this team, but goes almost game in and game out with them. So, yes, that is a problem. It can be a struggle. But after those early, not knowing who's who on the team, not having that chemistry, once they do get sent down a couple more times, yes, you've got that air travel in a way, that bus travel that makes people tired in general. But I think after a while, it's fine. And, of course, it is really annoying to see last minute, you see, Jerson's going to have to play this player, whether it being we saw Juan David Cabezas or someone like that. So it is very frustrating, but at the same time, for one player like Isidro or like Salazar, someone basically like him that had to be sent down almost week in, week out, you get used to the fact, and I think it becomes okay, but yes, you do want that player to be practicing with him week in and week out. And then you have people like Glenn Davis saying that's why this team should legitimately be in Houston Dynamo's backyard, so they don't have that type of problem. So you can see it both ways, but at the same time, after a while, it doesn't matter. The chemistry will be there if they play enough with each other, even if they have to go back and forth each game. Yes, it does give Jerson a tough time, and I've even gotten to speak with Rene Borrego, the CEO, and he said the exact same thing. They got to stop sending Houston Dynamo players down last minute no matter what. Just let Jerson do his thing. But, of course, yeah, you're kind of right on that too, Sean, that, Houston Dynamo, I think, is pressuring Gerson Echeverri to get the results, and if he doesn't, they just start to send down Houston Dynamo players.
Geez, I think they're starting to improve on that a little bit, because when Michael Nelson was sent down for the Las Vegas match, he was actually there like 2 days before practicing with the team. So I mean, that's the only time that I know for sure that they actually did that. I'm not sure if they did the same with Tyler Derrick, but it looks like they are seeing that issue and they are improving on it, which is, it's better than sending him down the night before.
Yeah, most definitely, and it will be beneficial, to say so the least, once everything is figured out. And so far, we've seen that the Dynamo are improving on that, like you did say. That's why I think we've gotten a lot more wins. That's why we've seen results now. We've got that chemistry put together. Of course, Connor Donovan coming back from injury was a huge deal, and now, of course, he's got to be benched for this match. We will see if the Toros can get their first road win tonight. It's going to be a struggle without him, but they've made results without him as well. So, I mean, that's just really the big takeaway from tonight is how can the Dynamo overcome this little hiccup in the lineup? If I said Dynamo, I mean the Toros.
I was just going to say, what, Freudian slip there? I was going to say, one thing I would like to see, and I think if the Dynamo take a step back from technical staff perspective and think about it, this makes more sense. I would like to see the Dynamo, if they're going to send a player down, send him down with a commitment to leave him with RGV for 4 matches or 4 weeks, as the case may be. Or even 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. That gives them time to get the minutes in. It's not a permanent send down. They lose out on 3 to 4 weeks practicing with the senior team, but they're getting that time practicing with the RGV players. That's going to improve RGV. It's going to improve your player development at RGV. That's going to improve your coaching at RGV, because now those veteran players are getting an opportunity to sit down with coach and actually talk about what they're seeing match over match and practice over practice. That's going to improve your system-wide understanding of and familiarity between everybody. Because now if you have an injured player like a Juan David Cabezas that goes and and is going to go and rehab a little bit with RGV, he's going to get 3 to 4 weeks with RGV that way. Gerson can plan around that instead of, and you were going to have your circumstances where like a Sam Junqua, where the situation with him is because of Beasley's injury, they need to have a backup center back / outside back besides Kevin Garcia. And that's your guy. And it's not Chris Duvall. We know that. We hoped it would be him, but it's not him. So you have to have somebody in that position, that's a backup that's capable of coming in and playing that role. So I get kind of why they're doing it with him. And I think those types of situations are different. But I think when you're sending a player down like a Juan David Cabezas and he gets, 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is in a match, 60 minutes in a match, if it's only a single match, is that really benefiting him other than getting him just a very short period of time? You look at MLB, and they play more games, but an MLB player that goes down to AAA to rehab, he's there for a few weeks. He's there for 2 to 3 weeks usually, or at least he's there for at least 3 or 4 games, just to get back. Now, if it's a major player, Juan David Cabezas might be an example of that. But if it's a major player, then maybe 2 weeks is sufficient. But at least let him stay there for that entire week. That travel, it's bad on the body. It's bad on the mental, psychological side of things. And it's just bad for the comfort level of the player. And if you can't afford for the player to be out for 2 weeks, now, if it was like an Albert Elise, I might cry if it was 2 weeks of Albert Elise. But, at the same time, if we don't have the depth to cover for losing him for 2 weeks, then, we've got bigger problems, to deal with anyways. I just think that this send them down, and you guys have said it, but I think sending people, and they're improving, but sending players down, not giving Gerson a heads up, sending them down on a Friday and then expecting them to be available to play on a Saturday, that's got to stop. And hopefully the Dynamo, have realized that and are doing what they can to improve and fix that. But I just, it's a struggle for me. I see it both ways. I see the benefit and I see the detraction for it. But I definitely think that there's more to be gained if the Dynamo are more engaged in improving that process over expecting RGV to be the ones to step up to the plate and improve it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, even you could advertise that well, too. If, let's say, you have a week heads up in advance, boom, the social media team can get right on it. Houston Dynamo players going to be sent down for RGVFC. So come support your sister club by going to a Toros game to support Albert Elise, to support Emil Rodriguez, Kevin Garcia, and Darwin Seren, even for another example too. So yeah, they could easily even put that as a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, and I would like to see them do that, but I think there's a struggle to begin. We've talked about that as well. I mean, that's a common theme we discuss all the time, which is a struggle from an RGV perspective of how do you market RGV, the Toros? How do you market the players properly? How do you market the team, to the Valley in general, to improve attendance? And I think the way you do that is by doing exactly what you're talking about, but that requires a mind shift change by the organization down there, by those who are in charge of marketing and advertising and those types of things, to be aware enough to say, hey, this player coming down, maybe he's not a major MLS name, but by having like a Memo Rodriguez come and rehab for a week, for instance, I'm just using him as an example, but Memo's going to rehab down here for a couple matches. Hey, let's advertise that, and you got to be, that there needs to be a way for them to get that information, even if it's just a week or 3 or 4 days, that's enough time for them to get the info to at least publicize it a little bit, at least get the RGV excited about it. I think there are some RGV fans that would legitimately, if Memo came down there, even for 1 or 2 matches during the next international break, if he went and played a match down there, there's some RGV fans that would show up just for that don't show up for other matches. If they advertised it. I should say that.
Exactly.
Edson, you've been awful quiet over there.
No, I'm just following the conversation. It's really, really interesting that it's something that I guess the Dynamo haven't thought of, or they're not looking at both sides like maybe we are. Like Glenn Davis says, they're going to look out for themselves and pretty much themselves only in that aspect. I do find it interesting that that we've mentioned like Juan David Cabezas, where he's rehabilitating, and the Dynamo knows that it's going to take more than a week to get some match fitness in USL, and yet he still had to come back to Houston and then come back to RGV for the match, which, like we've mentioned before, it's tiring for the player mentally and physically. We do know that for tonight, the loanees will be Tyler Derrick again and Kevin Garcia.
I liked your tweet earlier, Edson, about the prodigal son returning. That was great. That was fantastic. I just wanted to give you a shout out for that.
Thank you.
Well played.
So, but yeah, it should be an interesting match tonight. I actually believe that it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be another game like the one against LA Galaxy 2.
Yeah, and I would not be shocked about that as well. I've always been a fan of Tyler Derrick, but right now he's shown us really nothing. And yes, of course, to be fair, he hasn't played a lot of matches. That's what everyone's going to say. And so with Tyler Derrick starting on goal once again now, he's maybe learning a bit more of what he did before at LA Galaxy 2. But yeah, I can see him giving up a couple of easy goals. Of course, the defense isn't going to necessarily help that much, considering, yes, we got a hole in our defense. We're going to have to fill it with a younger player that hasn't played a lot of minutes as yes, Connor Donovan has, but he just has that senior that seniority in a way, that veteranicity that a younger player doesn't necessarily have. So when you have a player like him on that lineup, it will help your defense out a lot more than if you have a young player. So yes, we'll have that young player on, and of course the captain will most likely be the one and only Kiwi of Kyle Adams. So that'll be a good thing for sure. But like I said, yeah, that defense will be a bit more sloppy than before. And yes, Tyler Derrick will slip a couple of goals into the back of the net most likely. And yeah, it's going to be high scoring. I think since Carlos Small got his brace in that first game, and what I mean by that is just scoring. Once you score as an attacker, of course, and I know that you've talked about it as well, Sean, it builds that momentum for you, and it's fantastic. And yes, we've seen a different side of Carlos Small this year than we really hadn't. We thought for a while this year he was kind of stuck up and thought that he was the best. But once we saw him kind of focusing, especially after the game, Edson and I, or not witnessed, but we saw in the chat that someone witnessed him going after the game, trying to, practice, score some goals after. That was a great sign. So yeah, Carlos Small being on that pitch, being on the starting lineup will probably help benefit, and we'll probably score a couple of goals. We'll have Todd Wharton helping out his Portland Timbers 2 side, probably getting some good goals in as well. So yeah, it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how the reffing is. If I had to guess, it'll probably be another interesting one where the ref will just pick one side to really call a couple of fouls on and leave the other side kind of high and dry and let them off with a couple of warnings instead of actually giving yellow cards that should be yellow cards. So yeah, probably another bold prediction will be correct. And if I had to guess, the score line will be, I'll go with 5-4 this time.
Holy moly. Wow. Edson?
I would go 4-3 Torres. I feel like now this week we're going to have our actual starters. We're going to have Isidro. We're going to have Malik. We're going to have Michael Salazar in. We're going to have Andrew Samuels and maybe Robert Coronado. Actually, Robert Coronado, Kevin Garcia, and Kyle Adams, and then Tyler Derrick in the back. I think we'll be better tonight. And I think since Michael Salazar has found his groove, I think he's going to continue with that this week. So it will be interesting to see. I do want to point out, tomorrow for Down in the Valley, one of the biggest topics that I do want to talk about is about Tyler Derrick. And that is, from what you saw this match against LA Galaxy 2, and hopefully what we see tonight against Portland Timbers 2, would be, is Tyler Derrick losing his groove? Is he losing his talent? Or is he just a victim of a switched around roster? It will be interesting to see that. After all, we have, Michael Nelson doing so good whenever he comes in, and then Tyler Derrick kind of struggling a little when he's come down this season.
Yeah, and to be fair, for Tyler Derrick, he did it to himself. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. Of course, it goes all the way back to, if he doesn't have that allegation, if he doesn't have that domestic dispute with his ex-girlfriend, then is he still the starting goalkeeper? Does he not lose his groove? All this, because I think that really put a mental scar on him. And of course, now him not getting a lot of minutes, when he does get those minutes, and especially when it becomes RGV, maybe it just puts a mental lapse on him. And that's why we're seeing the Tyler Derrick that we're seeing now. But of course, yeah, just like you said, that's for some more talk about tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll just talk about what happens tonight and for Phoenix Rising.
All right, so since I haven't given my prediction yet, I'm going to give a prediction. This game is actually going to be a lot lower scoring than you're thinking. I'm going to go 2-0 Toros.
Wow.
It's a midweek match, guys. Those are hard matches to get up for.
Of course. You say it's midweek, but it is Tuesday night.
Which is midweek, my friend. Last I checked, when I looked at the calendar, the weekly calendar, 1, 2, 3, Tuesday's the third day of the week.
Isn't Wednesday hump day?
It is technically
that
Wednesday,
is technically more midweek than
but
midweek
would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is considered midweek in my opinion. But we're getting off topic here, getting tangent. But yeah, that's my prediction. 2-0 Toros tonight. I think they shut it down. I think they address their issues. Like I said, they're getting some players back. That's going to make a huge difference. I think definitely. And then I think the attack for the Toros will be on full display. I just think that you're going to see the quality of Portland Timbers 2 defense, which is actually not they're not good, but they're not terrible either. They're just not good. But I think you'll see that their quality is improving a little bit over their last match or two. But I guess we'll see. I could totally be wrong, and it could be like a 6-0 thing. But I do think the Toros pull the shutout, like Cisco said. I'm definitely going to agree with that one.
All right. Cool. Yeah, just like I said, I'm sticking with that 5-4. I think this time it could end up becoming correct. Although the last time 4-3, moments away from getting that 4-3, and then, of course, LA Galaxy 2 shutting up the fans in LA. I mean, that's also something to talk about real quick. Wow, the fans in LA really showed up for the Toros mainly Robert Coronado, but really impressive showing from that family.
Yeah,
I mean, just imagine if there was that level of commitment and support from RGV fans. I mean, what? Did I go there?
Oh no!
I go there? That's okay. This isn't an RGV podcast.
To also be fair, Sean, there's no support from Houston Dynamo fans too. I mean, El Batallon and Texian Army still can't find and agree on one thing to support this team and actually to go together to games instead of being split down the middle basically too. And then of course we're not selling out at BBVA Compass Stadium either. So, and that team's actually good too.
Edson, I hope you quote that and you post that to Twitter like in the next 5 minutes, because that statement is spot on.
I will.
I do want to give a shout out to El Batallon La Banda specifically. Even though they only had 2 trombone players on Saturday, those 2 trombone players, I don't know who they were, Cisco, but those 2 trombone players, man, they gave it their all. They were completely drowned out about 80% of the time by the 8 drums that they had and 8 drummers. But they gave everything they had to get the what little bit of horn sound you could get out of that to get out there. And I was able to consistently hear them throughout the match, which was pretty impressive considering how strong the drums were. So kudos and shout out to them for that. Hopefully that will continue as matches continue, especially with the derby on Saturday. This is going to be Callo says his prediction is 13-2. Derek allows 12 goals. I think you pull him after he allows like 6. I don't know. That's just me. It's kind of like hockey. Eventually you got to pull him right at some point.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just credit to La Banda for that. That was fantastic to see and to hear. And like I said, just the commitment from La Banda, match in and match out, commitment from the EB fans, match in and match out, commitment to the TA fans that were there, match in and match out. There's definitely improvement that I've seen this year so far. And it may be hard to see from from outside the sections and things like that, but there's definitely improvement there. And I think that it's improvement that bears fruit over the long term, as opposed to the type of improvement that bears fruit in the very initial short term and then has nothing to show for it after. I think the changes that we're seeing and the changes that are being that are happening, I think they're long-term changes that have much more impact and benefit over the long run.
Well, that's good. At least we're going to Minnesota United this thing instead of Atlanta United it. Because goodness me, I mean, off topic real quick. Congratulations to Minnesota United on getting their first win in their new stadium. And wow, what a crowd that is. I'm still really impressed with it. And they're going to win an MLS Cup soon once this LAFC and LA Galaxy and all that kind of calm down as well. Because their fan base, just like you said, that they waited for a bit of a long term, which I'd say that's about 4 years for them, and they finally got this team that's ready to compete, and their fans are right there with them. So just like you said, that's what we want. We want our own Wonderwall.
Well, I mean, we can only hope so. It's good, like I said, it's gonna, as far as with the fan base, it's gonna take a while for them to kind of settle the differences and kind of converge into their likenesses instead of focusing so much on their differences. And that's the only thing that'll have both supporters groups going together. And I hope that'll come soon. But yeah, guys, if you guys are interested in watching the Toros match, it will be at 9:30 on ESPN Plus. So be sure to check out the Toros. Be sure to check out our Lord and Savior Kevin Garcia in action tonight, and hopefully the Toros will get a win. Jacob, anything you want to add before we let you go?
Well, yeah, let's go Toros. Follow me on Twitter, JakeYoung456. And follow Edson as well at E_Ochoa something. Down in the Valley, of course. Check us out tomorrow as we break down the game tonight. And, well, yeah, of course. Adios.
All right, Jacob, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll see you tomorrow, man.
All right, see ya.
All right.
Later.
Bye. Good night, man. Well, guys,
That was good stuff. I just want to say that was good stuff.
It was a good discussion.
I really appreciate Jacob's point of view on some things, especially being there and being able to be a little bit more in the mix down there. That it makes a big difference getting to listen to his take on things and keeping up with everything and that sort of thing for sure. Y'all didn't talk about his streaming though. The dude has picked up on his streaming, man. So disappointed in you, Edson. So disappointed in you. Let's see. Santos says, if I watch the Toros don't win, so do you really want me to watch Edson?
No.
It's kind of like if Edson attends. Same type of thing.
Ouch.
I mean, is the streak not still alive?
I mean,
Yep.
Technically, it's still alive. Maybe.
Yep, it's still alive.
That even coach knows about it. So.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. So let's do this, Edson. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Because it is 7:40. Actually, let's not take a break. We're gonna talk, and we'll talk up until. Actually, no. Yeah. Okay. We'll take a quick 2-minute break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit of Dash to set up Jake, and then we'll dive into Jake at 8:00.
All right, guys. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away just yet, because we still got a lot more stuff to talk about here on Generation Orange. We'll be right back.
It's gonna be a packed second hour, that's for sure.
That's for sure. We'll be right back.
All right. Later, guys. Not later. They knew what I meant. Oh, having one of those nights.
I was lost in a foreign land. Knew where I was, but now where I stand. I left the rain for the desert sand. Went far away to find who I am. I was
And we're back, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Generation Orange. We just talked about RGV right now. We had a really interesting discussion about that. We keep on coming back to it for some reason. You know, this relationship between Dynamo and RGV, which I do have to point out is getting a lot better.
Yeah.
I thought you still had your mute on. But anyway, guys, thanks for keeping in tune in. Keeping in tune in. That's an app. Thanks for watching this stream right now. To all 13 of you, thank you so much for your support. If you guys have not liked this video, be sure to give it a like and be sure to share it with your friends. And of course, we still have that tweet out there if you want to win Dash tickets. There's a tweet out there in the Generation Orange account at Gen Orange Radio. Be sure to retweet that if you want to have an opportunity to win Dash tickets for this Sunday's match against Orlando Pride. And speaking of the Dash, well, let's talk a little bit of Dash. So last Saturday night, the Houston Dash, they hosted the current NWSL champions, the North Carolina Courage. And
I think hosted is a very good word. They were as hospitable as they could be as a host, giving them a nice 4-goal cushion to start the match.
Oh, come on.
I mean, to be fair, okay, look, it was a 4-1 loss for the Dash at home. That hurts. But we have to remember North Carolina Courage are the best team in NWSL for a reason.
Yes.
I expected and hoped that the Dash midfield would play better than they did. They got absolutely ran through and ran over repeatedly. They didn't play one of their better matches of the season, but then again, North Carolina tends to do that to just about every other team. Mm-hmm. I would like to see the Dash continue to play better, though. If they can do that this weekend against, I don't remember who they're playing. I looked it up just a little bit ago. I'll tell you in a minute, but if they can continue to play well against other teams besides North Carolina, I think that's that is the specific, not motivation, but confidence that they need to continue to play well throughout the rest of the season.
Are we looking at the Bayern Munich of NWSL with the North Carolina Courage? I mean, a team that will be pretty much dominating this league as far as championships go?
Say the question again, I'm sorry.
Are we looking, when we see the North Carolina Courage, are we seeing the Bayern Munich of NWSL?
I think yes. I think you're seeing, I would say, closer to Man City of NWSL right now. It's on other teams to figure out how to become the Liverpool of NWSL to compete with them. But I definitely think there is something to be said for the way North Carolina has gone about building their team, how they've gone about building up their fan base, creating the atmosphere that they create, and frankly, creating the chemistry within that team to be as good as they are and consistently as good as they are across the entire season. Mm-hmm. That's not easy to do in a league like NWSL, where in the off season, you tend to see quite a few changes year over year. And so for them to do it and continue doing it shows just how good an organization they are.
Yeah, that is very true. One of the things, because I was live tweeting the match on Sunday, one of the things that I did point it out was the pressure that, well, first of all, in the first half, it looked like the Houston Dash defense was looking so poised. They were well organized. They were able to stop the North Carolina Courage attacks. Then once the first goal came with a miscommunication between Amber Brooks and Jane Campbell, it all went downhill from there. But one of the things I do have to point out is that this was all thanks to the North Carolina Courage high press on the Dash. They were able to choke the Dash to the point that I almost did not mention Sophia Huerta at all throughout the match. Neither Kaylee O'Hai either. You know, as soon as Kaylee O'Hai received the ball, there's a picture that I posted, you know, where there's like 5 or 6 North Carolina players in the immediate area around where the ball was in Kaleo High's side of the field that made it almost impossible for the Dash to be able to have possession. Like they would lose the ball quickly, or they would force the Dash players to kick it anywhere instead of looking for somebody that was open. And that's what I saw for most of the match. Honestly, it was more of like the choke that North Carolina put on the Dash, rather than us saying, well, is it because the Dash really don't have the talent? They do have the talent, but there's other 11 players out there on the field, and when you have a tactic, well calibrated, just as North Carolina's pressing, it's difficult for other top teams, to be able to do well against this. And like Jane, I think it was Jane Campbell, this isn't. This is still the beginning of the season. This game is not going to define where we'll be at the end of the season. It's a good learning point for us, and that she's proud of the team for pushing through all 90 minutes. Hello.
I'm waiting for Jake to call in. Kind of hoping he calls in the next couple of minutes. So the Dash play Orlando Pride this weekend on Sunday evening. And
speaking of,
there we go. See, I knew he'd call in soon. That's why I was waiting.
Welcome to Generation Orange.
What's up, guys? This is Jake calling in. How's everything going this evening?
Hey, how's it going, Jake?
It's going all right. Still recovering from the game we had on Sunday.
I bet like it's interesting. Like even at the so I do have to say this now that Jake is on. So I'm sitting in the press box, and it's in the 80-something minute. The Dash are down 4-0, 4-1 after Rachel Daly's beautiful goal. I do have to say it was one of the best goals I've ever seen. And you hear Bayou City Republic, leading with the chance, but the one like I could hear like right off the bat was Jake. Like constantly, like I would hear like Jake's voice would stand out, and that's how loud he was on Sunday, trying to continue to push this team, support this team, even through such a bad-looking scoreline.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm a real passionate sports fan when it comes down to games, and especially being at our home stadium and everything. I usually have a tendency to go into what's known as game day mode and everything, where I just focus clearly on the field and everything, try and support the team, try and channel as much energy as I can. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the scoreline is. I'm still going at it, just like we're kicking off from minute 1. So it's pretty obvious how I am as a sports fan,
and kudos.
You and Sean have seen it firsthand at Dash games and everything. I mean, at the the Tacoma rain game to open up the NWSL season for the Houston Dash and everything. My voice was pretty much hoarse at the start of the second half.
Wait, so quick parentheses on that. So is the Rain renaming themselves to Tacoma? Like they're losing the Seattle name?
As far as I know, what I've been hearing from some people is they're referring to the Rain FC as Tacoma. Some people, especially the commentators, are still calling them Seattle. I haven't been able to confirm either or. So since they're playing in Tacoma now, I'm pretty much going off of what city they're in. So it's I'm pretty much calling them the Tacoma Rain. I'll chat with the league and the Rain FC staff after this phone call, and I'll try and get the clarification going as well.
Yeah. I was just curious because I know with Sounders 2, right off the bat, they announced their rebrand to Tacoma Defiance. And so I was kind of curious about it, since I did see that they were playing back in Rainier Field as well, along with Tacoma Defiance.
I can find out from some of the people. I'm sure Jen Cooper can help me out with that. So I'll probably consult with Jen Cooper after and get that confirmation. But yeah, gotta say the game this past weekend, the Dash game, I say during the first half we were doing very, very decently in holding North Carolina back and just disrupting their every move. The one thing that really changed the pace of the game, though, is Rachel Day's callback goal within the first half. Just rewatching the replay and everything, I didn't see any evidence that she was offsides with that. So I'd say if we had that goal as it should have been, then I'd say we would have been in a far better position. But just like what I said, it's like pro referees sometimes they don't have accountability for their actions and everything. So.
Yeah, no, there's no VAR in NWSL. And as bad as MLS officiating can be and has been in the past, NWSL officiating is second to none when it comes to terrible officiating consistently.
Yeah, there were many times, where the linesman was like not in a correct position and would still call offsides either way against Rachel Daly or Nichelle Prince. So yeah, I do agree with that sentiment that pro referees in NWSL aren't really the brightest bunch of the organization.
I mean, if I were to compare our refs to, say, the FAWSL has at least 3 or 4 ladders above what pro referees are. I mean, yeah, in every league around the world, there's inconsistencies, but at least in the FAWSL, they try to keep their calls as equal as possible. They have clear minds when they're going into games and everything, whereas here in NWSL and MLS, it's like pro referees have pretty much no energy to officiate games in a professional manner. I mean, it's so inconsistent across the board. Just seeing how a lot of goals and stuff got called back during the Earthquakes match and everything when Bayou City Republic was with you guys, to seeing how many blown calls there were and stuff in the NWSL game against North Carolina. So that still is a bothersome thing to me, but hopefully next year, Amanda Duffy, the president of NWSL, can go to pro referees and say, hey, listen, we need VAR. There's been way too many complaints coming into the front office and everything. I don't mean to go off the track, but yeah, I think VAR would be a good thing for NWSL games, just because of all the blown calls and everything.
I think last season, I don't know if Sean remembers, but when we had Eddie Robinson on the show last season, I think we touched up upon that with VAR and NWSL, and I think it was he was the one that made the comment that it's hard enough with MLS having enough referees to handle regulars with VAR, that there's not enough. The pool is not big enough to add VAR to NWSL. I think I remember he made that comment last season on the show, and I think that's the reason why we're not seeing VAR on NWSL. And I think it might be almost impossible to see it at NWSL unless they either get a separate refereeing organization or the pool in pro referees gets bigger.
Yeah, but one thing for sure, the energy from the fans and everything even though over 98% of the calls were going against us, and I don't know the specific stats. I don't have that much football stats like Dan Laletta and Jen Cooper does, but during that game, I could tell that 98% of the calls were going against us. Just every little call, and it's like only 2% of the calls went our way and everything, and that's what was frustrating. But at the same time, I felt as if the energy in that stadium from the fans, especially the BCR and Section 137, a majority of us were pretty much continually cheering and everything. I was continually waving the Bayou City Republic flag just to try and to get that extra momentum going, just to be that 12th person out there on the pitch with the rest of our footballers with the dash and everything. And I gotta say, that game was, even though the scoreline was disastrous for us, but I still didn't see our team giving up. They still had that fight out there. And just hearing what our gaffer, James Clarkson, said in his post-game interview, he's a brand new coach to the NWSL, and this was a learning experience for him. The one thing that a lot of fans out there may not recognize is we do have a new head coach, and we do have a all-new coaching staff except for Eddie Robinson. So it's a learning curve for not only the team, but the coaching staff as well. And I have a feeling that this game does not prove that who the Houston Dash really are. We still have a very long season to go, and I have a feeling that we will have our vengeance against Orlando Pride this coming Sunday at DBVA.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I said this before the North Carolina match. I said it last week that the Dash are constructed to be a very good team. I do think they can contend with North Carolina. I do think they can be better than North Carolina. They obviously weren't on Sunday, but Orlando is a totally different team that the Dash are better than. I'll be totally honest, they are, and I think that will be evident on Sunday. And I think the Dash now have a bit of a chip on their shoulder losing that way against North Carolina. I think they come out with even more bite than they normally do, even more tenacity than they normally do. I think you see some more physicality, so some more, a lot harder, just overall play. I think you see more effort out of Sunday, and I think that it's going to be pretty amazing. The score line at the end of it.
Oh yeah, I can sense it as well. Just seeing how our players were containing themselves. I mean, I saw a couple of our players with their heads down, and I told them, it's like, hey, heads up, show North Carolina that you're strong. Don't show them that you're defeated, because we are not. We're a family in this. You don't see us in the Bayou City Republic section holding our heads down. We're there to support you and just keep your heads up and everything. You played to the best of your abilities out there. Keep your heads up. And I even told James Clarkson after the match and everything, when he was walking past to go back to the changing rooms and everything, I told him, it's like, hey, you did very good out there. He didn't know the caliber of North Carolina until we went up against them and everything. And one thing's for sure, I told him, it's like, hey, along with a couple of other fans and stuff, we were clapping, saying, hey, good job out there, James. Good job out there. And we also said that to the rest of the coaching staff as they went by. We're not only etching on the players, we're etching on the coaches as well. And they really felt that. And I told the players at the end of the match, it's like, hey, you played well out there. You played well to the best of your ability. But hey, we love you. We support you. Just like people say on the Generation Orange show, we are one team, one family, and we're trying to do our part to make sure you guys keep your heads up and have that much energy to feed off of us to really want to bring more fans and supporters in. So that's one thing I said to the players. Yeah,
I want to say something, Edson, and this is going to be another interesting statement. But I didn't see any Dash fans out there Sunday booing their team for losing 4-1 or not scoring enough goals. I'm just throwing it out there, Edson. I don't know who that's aimed at, but I'm just saying there's a level of respect that Dash fans have for their team, and I really wish other fans would have the same level of respect for their team. Because again, I'm going to say it again. I say it all the time. Nobody is guaranteed, or there's no right to have a soccer team, a professional soccer team, women's or men's or otherwise, in your city, and you should understand that it's a privilege, not a right. And I just want to throw that out there.
You're very right on that, Sean. And just like I'm typing up in my social media posts now and everything, I'm totally honored to be supporting the Houston Dash and Houston Dynamo, and soon to be the RGV team as well, as soon as I get down to their games and everything when I have the time. But one thing for sure, this season, I've never heard anyone booing either the Dash or the Dynamo any of the games that I was there. At the Champions League game for the Dynamo, I'm sorry for going into the Dynamo for a little bit, but
no, you're good. You're good.
I didn't hear any booing in the stands for them missing a goal or anything. I heard the fans roaring up even more, trying to drown out the opponent's fans. And that's one thing I really find honorable with the Houston Dash and Dynamo fan base is they're not true fans if they boo the team. We want to show them that we love them and we care for them, give them encouragement. That's what they need. And that's one thing one of the high school coaches I've worked under said multiple times, because he was getting sick and tired of parents booing and everything when the team did something wrong. I told him, or he said to the family members and everything, he's like, hey, don't show weakness. Show that you love and care for this team and organization. And that's what I'm trying to say to the people that I come in contact with is just being true class, just being true fans, show the rest of the league in the NWSL and MLS that we're class fans. Give thanks to the opposition as well. Thank them for giving us a good game, even though they may have destroyed us, just like North Carolina did. Still, I thank the North Carolina players for a good game, and I keep that sportsmanship. We're rivals for 90 minutes on the pitch, but once that final whistle blows, hey, we can have sportsmanship and respect, and not boo our teams or just jeer at other teams. We gotta think and have class, and that's one thing I see with Dash and Dynamo fans is we're nothing but class. And it's a real privilege to be with all of you, just supporting these two teams. They need it, the players need it, the coaches need it, now more than ever. With the new front office, we need to show the front office that us as fans are world class just as much as the players and coaches out there. Coaches are only there to guide the players and work on tactics. It's up to the players to execute the game plans and everything. And one thing's for sure, we have that talent. On the Houston Dash team, we have Australian international Kaya Simon, who's just back from injury. She had a bloody wonderful game out there. It was good seeing her back on the pitch at BBVA. It was also good to see one of our rookies get the start, Satara Murray. She tore up the right-hand side like there was no tomorrow. She was breaking a play from Crystal Dunn like you can even imagine. I mean, those little things that you notice as fans and everything, that's one thing you have to be thankful for is we have to be with our team as much as they want to fight for us. We want to be there to fight for them and be that 12th man or woman out there on the pitch with them.
Sean?
No, absolutely. I 100% agree. I mean, that's the one thing that I think that I've admired about Dash fans is even though the team has struggled year over year with the improvement in the second half last season and now the improvement in the first part of this season, excluding obviously Sunday's match. But they've remained true. They've never, I've never heard boos related to the players or related to the play on the pitch. It's a big deal because, again, when you have a team that's struggling, when you have players that are struggling, and yet you still have people that are going out there and doing their part and still cheering on the team, regardless of how low in the standings the team is or how far away from playoff contention they may be. They're still out there, match in and match out, and they're still giving it their all, and they're still cheering on the players. And I think that's huge, and I hope that continues to grow. I hope that BCR can continue to grow. There's definitely some good things that are going on there. Like I said, I expect that Sunday's match is going to be a win for the Dash over the Pride, and hopefully Kalia Ohai can break out of her slump that she's in currently. Hopefully we see some.
Yeah, I have a feeling all of our players are, because right now it's just the beginning of the season. Just like that, like I said during some of the other shows and everything, all of our players, from our starters to our reserves and to our new rookies that just came in, well, they're still polishing off some of the off-season rust and everything. They're still learning the new system that James has put on for them and everything, and that's one thing I see out there. I don't see them as giving up in any way. I don't see that whatsoever. They're out there fighting for 90 plus minutes and everything, just like I see the Dynamo wanting to work hard and everything, and I haven't seen them give up at all this season. And still, the NWSL season, MLS season is still young. Whatever losses we have, whatever draws we've had, that doesn't define who we are. I mean, of course, there's always going to be those haters out there. Hey, one thing I've learned is haters make good promoters. So hopefully, if they see the product that both teams are putting out there and everything, then that way we'll be able to draw over from, say, the Rockets, the Astro fan bases and everything, give them interest in our two teams and everything. And also one thing, I have to touch back on RGV as well. Even though RGV's been struggling all this time, I haven't been following them as much as you and Edson have, but one thing's for sure as well, their losses don't define who they are, because I think the USL season is still young as well. So our organization is strong. We have a new front office and everything. We have new coaches. We have new players. We have an all-new system out there, operation-wise and front of house-wise, and in the front office-wise setting and everything. But still, I've never seen any of our fans in any of those three teams, including our developmental teams, booing or disrespecting our team in any way, shape, or form. All the true football fans I've seen out there are passionate. They have nothing but good things to say about our team. We want to etch them on, and that's one thing I'm trying to do with the Dash, and especially with the supporters groups coming over. I mean, these past couple of games we've had people from El Batallon and Texian Army at the Dash games and everything, and it's refreshing to see. And at the same time, us with Vice City Republic and everything, we're trying to make it out to mend that separation and be out there to help support our guys in Orange as well on the Dynamo side. So one thing's for sure, we have to do our part, just like Sean and Edson say. We got to 10,000% commit to that statement. We got to be behind our teams and organization 10,000%. We have to show the rest of the fan bases out there that Houston is not as bad as the media says we are. No, that's not the case. We're passionate sports fans, and one thing's for sure, we have a love for our Dash and Dynamo, and we want to, along with our RGV and Academy teams, we want to see them succeed. We want to see them become playoff contenders or finals contenders again. and that's one thing. That's one thing for sure. I'm feeling that the Dash are slowly rebuilding themselves this season, and change. Just like you guys have said multiple times, change is not going to be happening within a season. It may take 2, maybe 2.5 seasons under the current coaching staff we have, but still, we can be playoff contenders, but we have to be world-class fans as well and be behind our organization 10,000%, not just 100%. That's one thing one of the high school football coaches I've worked for says, with not only his assistants and everything, and he expects us from supporters as well. We got to be behind our organizations 10,000%. And that's one thing I live by day by day. It's a privilege to support the Dash. It's a privilege to support the RGV Toros and the Houston Dynamo along with our academy teams. And that's one thing I stand by. And at every Dash game you'll see me at, I'll be out there waving that Texas-sized flag. Even though we may be a point down or something, still, I'm out there cheering them on, and that's one thing we need to do. We need to be that 12th person out there on the pitch to support our teams and everything.
Absolutely. Well, Jake, thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it, man. Appreciate your passion, appreciate your commitment, your dedication, and look forward to continuing to watch that grow and continuing to watch you grow as a super supporter, and continuing to watch BCR grow, because I really do think that BCR is going to grow this year in some pretty cool ways.
Oh yeah, I have that feeling too. And hey, just like I said in the last couple of podcasts and stuff I call into, hey, if you're interested in joining the Bayou City Republic, by all means, reach out to Sarah Gilliland, our BCR president / chairwoman. She'll be more than happy to set you up and get you wristbands and passes for the support section. And hey, for those of you who come and see me this Sunday at BBVA for the Dash game, I will get you your first drink. It'll be on me. So that's a promise. I'll be at 8th Wonder Brewery with the BCR, so it's either at 8th Wonder Brewery for pregame or at BBVA Compass Stadium. But I'm reaching out to all the fan bases and everything. Please be there. We need all the support we can get against the Orlando Pride, and we need to be that 12th person out there on the field. And I think each and every single one of you, it's a privilege and an honor to be a part of this family. Officially, now that I'm in H-Town now, I know what this family is all about, and I'm loving it. When I say I feel the true Aloha spirit from you folks, I feel the true Aloha spirit from you. Sean knows what that's all about, and I feel it 10,000%. So just saying this as a Dash supporter, as a Dynamo supporter, Academy supporter, and RGV supporter, Ohana, that's what we are. We're
Absolutely.
one big Ohana.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep. Thanks again, Jake. We appreciate it, man.
No problem. See you guys on Sunday. Dash TF on. We are Generation Orange. We are Toros, forever orange. And don't forget our academy teams as well for the Dynamo and Dash and RGV as well. One team, one family, one Ohana, one big supportive football family. Later, y'all.
Later, man.
Later.
Thank you for calling in.
So guys, yeah, I mean, he kind of hit the nail on the head talking about a lot of different things, but especially about, support, and something that Cisco said, and it caught my attention because it's so good and so true. I got to find it. He said, what's crazy is despite being a season ticket holder for the 7 years prior to this season, he's found a new joy in attending matches this season. And I kind of replied, and I meant it honestly and genuinely, but being engaged as a fan will do that. And he said, maybe that's what other fans need. Find more ways to be engaged and get involved. Make the event more than just showing up for 2 hours and sitting in a seat. And my response was, don't just watch the match, experience it. And it's so true. Being engaged in that way, in terms of, as a fan, finding ways to engage with the team And it increases that connection you have with the team and with others that are supporting the team too. And it takes you from being the person who's there to watch the game to being that person who's there to support the team and being there to embrace the family and the ups and the downs that are inevitably going to happen every season. And it enhances, without a doubt, it enhances the highs for sure. When Dynamo won Open Cup last year and we had our group from the Dynamo Discord sitting together, and I had one of my close friends there with me who was the guy who got me into the Dynamo to begin with, back all the way in 2006, in the 2006 playoffs actually. Having him there, and that was his first ever championship match for any sport. It's pretty incredible. And I can tell you that level of euphoria and high I can't even put it into words. I mean, it was incredible. And getting to celebrate with people like Travis and Cisco and Sergio and Jeff and Cisco's friend, I think it was Juan. I'm pretty sure it was Juan. It was Juan. Juan was there, and I know there were other people that I don't even remember that were there sitting near me. Probably Santos, I think, was there. Caleb was probably nearby. I mean, we had a good turnout, and just everybody together, man. It was next level amazing. And I'm just throwing it out there that when the Dynamo score a goal this season, and I have an opportunity to be up in the supporters group sections, kind of experiencing what that's all about and getting to see just that level of embrace that happens when the Dynamo scores a goal, or the Dynamo score a goal, and watching how incredibly connected those guys and those girls are with the players on the pitch and the team on the pitch. It's just, I mean, it's passion. It's passion in its purest and truest form when it comes to sport. And I just, like I said, I can't encourage you enough. If you're a fan who goes, I've been to plenty of matches, I've just never felt that connection. If you're able to make it out to another match, I challenge and urge you to get involved and get engaged somehow. If you're not one who wants to be a supporter, I still recommend going out to maybe the TA tailgate beforehand, or going over to King's Court beforehand and just hang out. That doesn't mean you have to go sit in their section, but it definitely, or stand in their section. But it definitely gives you a way to connect in with some other people that are Dynamo fans in that way as well. And trust me, you won't regret the decision to do that for sure. Santos says he and his sister were. I'm telling you guys, though, it just absolutely makes such a difference to be engaged. And it really does. It elevates that level of just that connection. Like I said, that connection, it just elevates that connection to a whole nother level. So guys, we're going to do the secret word of the podcast right now. That secret word is Ohana. So if you're in the YouTube chat and you want to win the Dash tickets, say the word Ohana. Jake will appreciate that. Say the word Ohana in chat, or type the word in chat, and you will get 2 entries into the drawing for the 2 Dash tickets, which will take place actually in about 15 minutes from now. We will do 8:45. I timed that really well. So that's the secret word. I've shared that now. We've had quite a few retweets of that tweet, so that's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that so far. Let's talk about something. Well, Edson, did you want to add anything to the being engaged fan thing?
It's interesting what Cisco pointed out in the chat, because I feel like there's so many people nowadays in quote unquote modern football that just go to the stadium, just like if you were going to the movie theater or to a play, where you're just there to watch. It seems like there's a lot less fans that are engaged, that are passionate, that love the sport as a way to kind of forget about all your troubles, and as a de-stressor as well. Were you mad? in the office at work or whatever. You go out there and you yell at the ref, or you yell at the players, pushing them to continue to move forward, etc., etc. A lot of people I feel like have lost that passion, the ones that go out there. And there has to be some way to get that back in the fans that do go to the stadiums, whether it's HB Park or BBVA Compass Stadium. I really honestly don't know what can be done, because this is something that isn't, that somebody has, or at least the way I see it, it's something that somebody has or hasn't. It's difficult to teach it, to teach a passion, and for that passion to be sincere.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, right? Because you see that level of connection and passion in other leagues around the world. You see that in your Norwegian teams and your Swedish teams, and and your even some of your Dutch teams too. You see it in your Liga MX teams for sure. You see it in La Liga, especially those top teams. Mm-hmm. You see it with the German teams in Bundesliga. You see it. You don't see it as much with, I think, the French teams, but you see it with the Russian teams. It's crazy the level of passion that some of these supporters of teams internationally have. I look at that and I go, man, one day I want that. I want to see that in BBVA. And I think it's important to remember that, you look at that and it seems like it's so far away. It seems like that's this unattainable goal that we'll never get to. But here's the thing. You never get to it if you don't start. You do eventually get there if you at least start. And starting means you start with yourself. You become more engaged. Whatever that means to you as a Dynamo, Dash, or RGV, or whatever fan, even if you're a fan of Dynamo Academy, I'll include you as well. Whatever you're a fan of in terms of Houston soccer or RGV soccer, I absolutely encourage you to get engaged. And, if it's the Dynamo Academy, reach out to Paul Holliker on Twitter and say, hey, man, I'm going to come out to a couple of matches with the Dynamo Academy. I'd love to get a chance to just chat with you to find out more about the players and the team as best you can give me, or even the coaches to find out more about it. I guarantee you he will find a way to make that happen. They absolutely eat that stuff up because nobody else does that. Nobody else is that interested in finding out unless you're a parent of an existing kid. If you're an RGV, if you're a fan of soccer in RGV and you're trying to figure out how do I get engaged when it comes to the Toros, you got the Stampede. You could also reach out to the organization and just say, hey, what can I do to get more involved? You can look up some volunteer opportunities in the community, and just as a RGV fan, especially if you're a Toros fan and you go out and volunteer doing something in the Valley, do yourself a favor and just say, hey guys, if you heard about RGV Toros, do you guys want to go to a Toros match? Talk to the Stampede, maybe find out a way to donate a few tickets to people that want to go, that don't have the capability to go, and go out and do a charity thing. I mean, there's, and that can spread to the Dash and the Dynamo and et cetera from there as well. And like I said, just get engaged, find a way to be engaged. I can't stress it enough because it just seems so simple. Like, oh yeah, I'll go and I'll volunteer and I'll do it in the name of the Dynamo and that'll be good enough. And it is. Like, it seems so simple and so easy, but that one thing, once you get that connection, it changes the way you view the team and the players, and that sort of thing. You suddenly find yourself having a little bit of ownership in how the team does and what the team does. You care. You suddenly start to truly care and genuinely care. And look, there's a lot of fans out there that they were that way, for the first 5 seasons that the Dynamo existed, and then because the team was struggling, their engagement level just kind of dipped off. And that happens. Some people get burnt out for various reasons. But there needs to be a refreshing of new people and new blood coming in that want to be just as engaged too. And sometimes that means that, hey, if you're the one sitting on the couch or you're the one sitting in the stands and you're not engaged, go be that person that gets engaged. That could be the difference between somebody burning out and somebody not burning out. I know I just totally tangentialized that thing tremendously, but it's just, it's something I'm really impassionate about. So it is what it is. But All right, guys. So let's see. There was a lot of crap that I missed that was said in chat. Thankfully, I have all the Ohanas, so good job there, people. That's right. This weekend is the Derby. God, it's the Derby weekend, Edson, and we've barely talked anything about the Derby at all, which I think shows you the state of the Dynamo in general. I think if you know,
Why is that?
At least in my opinion, because not that the Derby doesn't matter, but because the focus is not on how the Dynamo are playing, because they're playing so well that the focus is on other things, that areas of improvement. You know, I think that, and because it just caught me, I just realized it, that I'm more interested this week in talking about everything else going on that are struggles, and discussing it and talking about it and putting light to it. That the Derby to me almost feels, it still feels extremely important. I still want to win the Derby this weekend. I want to beat FCD because it's Frisco. But I almost feel like it's more important to me right now, and I'm going to get totally beat up for this comment, you know, on Twitter and social media and otherwise, and you can quote me, Edson. But I almost feel like the Frisco rivalry takes a back seat right now to, oh, you're typing every word verbatim. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It almost takes a back seat right now for me to seeing the fan base grow and become reignited with that passion again. Like, that is my big focus this year. And I know there's a few other people that have joined me in that focus and trying to help improve that area. And I don't know, man. We talked about it before the season. The off season and the preseason, they felt different. This didn't feel like a regular run of the mill Dynamo season. And I can't put my finger specifically on what it was, but I believe that those that became more engaged this offseason and took that step this offseason, I feel like it created an effect that it's begun to spread a little bit. And you're beginning to see it in various places and in various ways. And, you know, I'm excited, but I'm really excited to see how much of a change has happened with just the people that follow us on Twitter, watch our show, people like Jake coming from Hawaii to live here, not for the sole purpose of supporting the teams, but because this is where he feels like is now going to be his home. And I mean, there's something going on. And I don't think there's a way to deny it. There's something going on, and it's absolutely right now with this fan base, the collective fan base between the three teams in the Dynamo Academy.
Yeah, but I think this is something for me. It seems like this is something that's been in the works. Like, I feel like year after year, like, the rivalry between Dallas and Houston, as far as the two teams are concerned, has diminished in one way or another. And I feel like a lot of people that are passionate Dynamo fans view SKC as a bigger rival than FCD Frisco. Yeah, I see it that way too, because of the actual, rivalry when it comes to like eliminations and playoffs between SKC and the Dynamo. Whereas FC Dallas and the Dynamo, it's more like, well, we just happen to be in the same state, kind of thing, and we haven't had that extra spice of like eliminations that I recall. So and like you say as well, like, we have bigger priorities than just winning like 2 games out of the year, versus your in-state rival. That's how much we've grown, I think, as a team. And I think Frisco fans might feel the same way about the Dynamo as well.
Oh, and you know, I mentioned it. I think it helps that the play on the field is incredible right now. The run of form that the team is in is incredible right now. Getting Memo back at the right time is incredible right now. Getting JDC back at right now is impressive. The way Vera has started this season, the way Kiki Struna and Minor Figueroa have started the season, the way Lundqvist has come into his own. Shout out to Callow for calling that early on. Shout out to me for calling that early on as well. You know, the way that these players have come together and just the way that they're playing right now, it's hard not to be drawn in, and not just as a fan, but just as a spectator. It's hard not to be drawn in because it's exciting and it's fun and it's entertaining. And, you know, I do think that the fan base in general needed that entertainment factor again, needed that kind of high flying, high pressure, you know, style, a la Ajax, very similar to how Ajax plays. You know, and you look at Ajax, that fan base right now is on a whole nother level as well. And I think that, you know, there's something to be said that as long as the team continues this and just keeps playing their style, no matter, you know, they're going to lose a match here and there, and that's okay, but they need to keep playing their style and not worry about the other team. They need to play their way because they're proving it match in and match out that their way is going to beat at least 90% of the, you know, going to win 90% of the, not win, but going to put them in a position to win 90% of their matches.
See, and you mentioned that it's one of the things that Coach Cabrera mentioned last weekend after they defeated Columbus Crew. He said we didn't change. One of the things he mentioned about the game was like we didn't change our style because they asked him about the loss against LA Galaxy 2 and then coming back and winning against Columbus. And he said the thing that I like about this team is that we didn't change. We don't want to change from our essence that makes this team great. And hearing that, you know, compared to last season, and we kept on talking about it, that it seemed like it was two different teams home and away. And now this season so far, it's been like you see that dynamo that you see at BBVA, you're seeing some of it, if not most of it, you know, when they're away.
Yeah, absolutely. Cisco. I'm sorry, Edson. Edson, it is time to do our giveaway.
All right.
You should have the list of names.
Los Toros.
Do you need me to draw this? Is this how this was working?
No. Go ahead and do something. We have a donation. David tipped $5. Thank you so much. Tottenham is getting knocked out by Ajax. David Loredo says.
Oh, David, I am so hurt by that. Oh man, David. Oh, I am so very hurt by that. I can't even right now. All right, so David's name is stricken from the record for being able to win the tickets. I'm just kidding. He's still entered. Yeah, so let's do the drawing real quick. By my count, I think we have 22. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 22 right now. 22 entries? Dear God, that's so many. Good job, guys. I'm really proud of y'all. 22 is impressive. If you're watching right now while Edson is trying to do the drawing, if y'all could do me a favor and like this video and subscribe, that would be hugely beneficial. And also share it with your friends and family, and even those people that you hate, because, you know, there's nothing better than bonding over Dynamo, or Dash or RGV for that matter, or Houston Academy Soccer, you know, whatever you're into.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Here comes the random name picker.
All right.
Here we go. Jake.
Hey, Jake won 2 tickets to the Dash. The guy who was already going to the match. That's awesome. Jake, I will get your contact info after the show. And Keeper Notes will be reaching out to you, or I will be reaching out to you with the info for your tickets for Sunday. That does mean that Jake has 2 extra tickets to the Dash match now. So if you are, or at least 1 extra. So if you're interested in going to the Dash match and you don't have money to pay, you should definitely hit up Jake, because I am certain he can find a way to get you to the Dash match. At least 1 of you, if not 2 of you. With that being said, We got what, 15 minutes left? Let's make this 15 minutes count. So we're gonna talk about one thing, and then we'll talk about something different next week. I've already got a topic for next week, which is incredible. But what I want to talk about right now is I want to talk about we talked about it earlier. I want to talk about how there were so many people last season and the season before who said, and I quote, the Dynamo need to spend more money. They need to bring in higher salaried players. The reason they're not very good is because their players are not high value players. They're not high salary players. They need to spend more money. They spend the least amount of money in the league. They're 19th in spending in the league, or whatever number they were. I think it was 19. No, they had to be lower than 19. They were last in the league in spending. They're last in the league in spending. That means that's why the team is not that good. I want to point out, and Cisco pointed it out to me, and I had already seen it. I just hadn't really thought much about it. But where are all those people right now? I mean, this team is flying high and easily still has one of the smallest budgets and salary budgets in the league. And yet they're competing with teams that have 10, 15 times their salary, at least 10 times their salaries. I mean, come on. You can't look, does having a Zlatan in your lineup help? It can. That doesn't guarantee that he's going to do, that's one player. It takes 11 players on the pitch to win the match. The proof I have of this is Ajax. It is a perfect example. Ajax has run up against the big dogs in league after league after league in the Champions League, and they have knocked every one of them off, playing with far lower salary budgets, or far lower salaries for players that are deemed lesser players, and doing it consistently. And so I think it's time that we get past this whole notion that the only way to build a team, or the only way to build a good team or the best team, is to spend all the money to do it.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is that a lot of these people, we need a Zlatan, we need a Wayne Rooney. But what happens to those teams if for some reason those DPs aren't there? They develop a dependency on these players. When they're not there, the teams suffer a lot.
Yeah. Cisco brings up the point too. Dynamo last year, the front three of Mauro, Kyoto, and Elise matched LAFC front three goal for goal and assist for assist over the entire season. And you consider how impressive that is when Vela's salary by himself is more than the salary of all three of those players combined. His transfer fee was more than the transfer fee of all three players. And that's considering that Elise's transfer fee was $3.5 million roughly in there. I mean, it's incredible how little we have to spend, or how little we do spend, quote unquote, and yet how much we maximize every dollar that we spend. And if you would ask any of those other fans of other teams, they would rather do it that way, because at the end of the day, like Edson said, and it's really important, when LA loses Zlatan or when LAFC loses Vela, they struggle to replace that. When the Dynamo lose an Albert Elise for a game, or a Memo Rodriguez for a game, or a Kyoto for a game, guess what? We're not in the same boat where the team suddenly collapses. We haven't had Juan David Cabezas technically he's been available, but he's coming back from injury. We haven't had Juan David Cabezas, but for one match this season, if that.
And for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes of that match, maybe 10 minutes, I think, maybe. And yet the team hasn't looked any worse for it. I just, I look at it and I go, this is the type of team that I want. I want this type of setup, this type of team over the long haul, because this is the type of team that's going to remain competitive season over season over season over season. Whereas your LA Galaxies, guess what? 2 seasons ago, they struggled. Your Toronto FC, last season, they struggled. Your Atlanta United, they're struggling this season. Go ahead.
And you look at CONCACAF Champions League. One of the things that when we talked about it last week, I don't know if it was in Gen Orange or down in the Valley, we mentioned, what the pundits were saying about why MLS is doing so bad in CONCACAF Champions League. And one of the things that I mentioned was the lack of depth in MLS teams. Why? Because of the salary cap. Why? Because these players or these teams want to get a DP and pay them so much money and make them TAM players that at the end of the day, like, they have very little they have that they can use to buy depth. And so when you have a team like Atlanta United that lost their best player in Miguel Almiron, and now and their coach, they have no idea what to do, and they were defeated by Monterrey. You have Sporting Kansas City, which I understand don't have as big as a name of DP as these other teams, but their depth suffered as well to the point where they were blown out by Monterrey. Whereas with the Dynamo, we were able to rotate our players enough against Guasatoya, against Real Salt Lake, against Tigres in both legs as well. And we didn't do bad against Tigres, one of the best teams in this region.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it. The Dynamo came out and played well enough, considering everything else that they're struggling off the pitch with. They came out and played in Monterrey against Tigres at El Vacon. They came out and they played well enough that Tigres fans were appreciative and respected what they showed, and that says so much about this team and about how good this team really is.
It is. And like I mentioned when Cisco mentioned that on chat, like, Tigres fans are not going to say that to just any team. Like, it's hard for Tigres fans to give respect to a team of how well they played. When you did that, that shows a lot of the heart, the determination, the talent of this team, where you can say, like, we had everything against us. We were going against one of the biggest payrolls in the region. We were barely coming out of preseason, and we had the injury of DeMarcus Beasley in the second half, and yet we only went down a goal in El Volcan, and it was circumstantial because of Maynard Figueroa coming out for an injury in that specific moment, and other than that, Tigres not being able to do much. That shows a lot about this team, and it shows a lot that we have the power. We're very frugal in how we spend this money, and we mentioned it before. It's not all the team that spends the most is not always going to win. Just take a look at Manchester City. Just take a look at PSG. Take a look at Real Madrid. These are teams that have a lot of money behind them. They spend a lot of money in transfers, and yet they still can't win a UEFA Champions League. And you have Ajax, who is a lot of pretty much homegrowns, you can call them.
In fact, most of the big league teams pull players from Ajax who become their star players. Toby Alderweireld, who is Tottenham's center back of choice. Jan Vertonghen, who's their other center back of choice. We're not talking about that, Edson. Don't go there. Kieran Trippier, who was a player for Ajax. The list goes on. And there are more examples of previous Ajax players who came up through Ajax, either played for Ajax senior team or came up through the Ajax Academy. So here's the thing. What makes Ajax so good and why they're able to be this good right now is because they've spent years building up their academy. They've spent years building up a specific way to be a specific way, to play a specific way. And they have a coach who's able to utilize and leverage players who are willing to go full on 100% of the time in 100% of matches for 90 full minutes plus stoppage and give everything they have on the pitch. And that team is you saw it against Tottenham. They ran Tottenham into the ground. Now, some of that is Tottenham's exhausted because they've played way more matches in the last couple of weeks. But on the flip side of it, it doesn't matter. It's still impressive what Ajax is doing. And again, It's a similar type of system, a similar type of setup for the Dynamo, and it's why they're successful. They don't allow other teams to pass out of the back. They apply pressure everywhere on the pitch. They're always covering for one another. There's always somebody running to cover that ball defensively. Nobody is backing off now. It's like there's just this commitment to defend, this commitment to find the open space, this commitment to run. And you see it in Memo. Memo is a prime example of the type of player that will thrive in this system. Memo is a player who he sees a run, even if he doesn't have the ball, he's making that run. And that is why he finds himself open in front of goals so frequently with the ball coming to his feet. Now, he didn't score on Saturday, but he was involved in multiple plays. He was involved with the play a lot of the time, and he looked really good. Again, yay, Memo. Oh, I meant Davison Sanchez and Christian Eriksen. Thank you. Yes, sorry, I said Trippier. I was trying to think of Sanchez, not Trippier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I just feel like there's so many people. They go the easy route and say money buys talent, which it does, but it doesn't guarantee that all that talent is going to gel well together. You know, there's nothing better than team chemistry, because a lot of the times you may not have the best players, or you might have like decent talent, but none of them like superstars. And a lot of times they'll because there's so much chemistry as a team, that they play well as a team together, they end up beating teams that are a lot, that have a lot better players. But if they don't play well together, just take a look at Argentina national team. Look how many superstars they have.
Yeah.
They have Messi. And yet they can't win a Copa America? Or they can't win anything decent? They can't win the World Cup? Why? Xavi Hernandez said it best. Because in Barcelona, everybody plays as a team. In Argentina, they have a lot of players, but everybody wants to play for themselves. So there's the key right there. And in the Houston Dynamo, you can see that that everybody in this team does their part in making sure that everything goes correctly in the match, and they were able to win matches. It's everybody wins, everybody loses kind of thing. They're all very stuck together.
I want to give Cisco another kudos here for this statement. How about Morrow? When he came to this team, he was essentially a nobody. He was an up-and-coming player, but he wasn't the guy. And he's gone from being, an underrated player, not an underrated, but a kind of lesser-known player who wasn't getting many looks other than the youth national team. I guess we're getting a call.
Yeah. Oh, they hung up, I guess.
Call back if you called us. Call back. We'll talk to you. But he went from nobody really giving him a second thought to now he's a premier Dynamo player who is getting consideration for the Colombian national team, senior team. This is a team with players like James Rodriguez. I mean, that's incredible to me. That shows you that the development of players is happening. It just may not be happening in the way we anticipated specifically, but it is happening.
Well, no,
if you called us, call back.
There it is. I was
going to say there's a delay. So,
welcome to Generation Orange. Who are we speaking with?
This is Santos.
Hey, how's it going, Santos?
Not much. Just a few days away from the rivalry game, and I'm 100% excited for that. But I think what I wanted to touch on, again, it was just continuing with the conversation you guys were having about fans who were having issues with how the Dynamo spend money on their players. For me, from what I've seen with just the city in general, with the attitude of teams, they're more of a results base in terms of the team isn't performing, they're not going to show. And I will bring back 2017 when we made the playoffs. Once we got to the conference finals, the conference championship game, that the stadium was fully packed out. 30 minutes before the game started. So there is a lifeline with people wanting to come see a successful team. They just don't want to be there with the tribulations with the team having to suffer a little bit. And it hasn't even been that we were suffering a bit. We made it to the conference finals. Next year we win the Open Cup, but everybody wants the results now, but they don't want to wait for the results to slowly work their way. And this year we're finally seeing the team play like they could always play.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you know,
my biggest the funny things is who we've bought in. We haven't bought in many. We've not fully overhauled. We've kept a lot of the core components. We've just replaced a few bad pieces for pieces that have either worked out in time, like Vera, or pieces that we weren't really expecting much out of in terms of Figueroa and Strina, who
that's
was
my
basically
big one, right? Like,
was labeled out as a Matt Jordan signing. Oh, he's just from the C to B. It won't mean much.
like he was.
But look how they've come out.
Yeah, he was a cast off by Frisco. He was essentially shown the door by Frisco, and we're like, all right, cool, thanks. Come on, Figueroa, we got a spot for you. He comes into to preseason camp. He plays pretty well. So we're just like, hey, I'm going to give you a shot in CONCACAF Champions League. Plays really well. And now he's our starter. And next to Kiki, they look like the best center back pairing in the league.
And you know what's interesting about Maynard Figueroa is not only does he provide help, you know, in the defensive side of things, he also helps out offensively.
Oh, so much. His skill with the ball at his feet. There's not many center backs that are capable of pushing up the way he and Kiki can. And when they do it, there's a recognition by the other center back and the DM, the defensive midfielders, to come back and cover. And
usually Vera.
When I've seen them move, when I've seen the center back move up, I've not seen a counterattack that's not been squashed before it got past the center backs. I mean, it's just incredible to me. And it creates so much pressure because you're staying in their final third.
What amazes me is I wonder how long it took Cabrera to, once he heard that Figueroa was gone, to realize, like, well, just get him. I wonder how long it took him to realize.
And, yeah, I wonder
honestly,
if it was
the way that he's playing right now. I'm surprised that Frisco said, you know what, you're not par for the course. And the next thing you know, he's reflourished at his age, and I don't even know. I love the guy. To think that he could play like this, that he actually puts himself back into the national team talks, because he was already kind of talking retirement a few months back, and now he's pretty much possibly coming into the Gold Cup roster. He just put himself out there again.
At 35 years old, the guy looks like he could play another 10 years and not lose a day. Like, I mean, the guy's incredible right now. Maybe you know what it is. Maybe he worked out a little bit with Beasley in the offseason, right in the preseason, and he got that Beasley fountain of youth going on. Maybe that's what it was. Beasley kind of shared his secret. Oh, that's so funny. I mean, but it's true, though. It's incredible to me, and I really am curious. Somebody's going to have to ask Jordan and Cabrera, who picked out Figueroa as the signing that they wanted to go after for their veteran center back guy. You know, which of the two, or was it a joint decision? You know, who was the first one to bring that name to light? Because I'm just like, he was nowhere near the picture for a center back. You know, I was like, yeah, okay. You know, and then even when we signed him, everybody was like, oh, that's cool. It'll be nice to have a, veteran backup who's got experience that can come in. And
I honestly thought he was only going to be for CONCACAF Champions League, and then he was going to be benched for Fuenmayor.
I expected the same thing, and
killed Fuenmayor out of his spot. That's the craziest thing. Our outgrowing player, he's having to sit in the bench because Figueroa is just not willing to give him a spot.
Well, but here's the thing, though, right? You think about it, it's kind of cool because I forget sometimes that Fuenmayor is still a Dynamo player in a good, positive way. I'm like,
to the point that he was pretty much put on the RGVFC roster.
Yeah. And, look, Kevin Garcia is ahead of him right now. That's all I'm saying about that. And some of it I think is youth and inexperience and needing to figure some things out, and Cabrera understanding that, this team is special. The makeup of this team is special, and understanding that Figueroa is the type of player that you can't you can't sit on the bench for very long when he's playing the way he is. That level of form right now, that dude deserves a freaking gold FIFA card right now. Team of the week, team of the season, whatever, team of the century. Because I mean, he's playing as good a center back as I've seen across many leagues. Does he make mistakes? Yes, most center backs do eventually at some point. But he's playing top-notch soccer right now.
Agreed.
And he's doing it against some of the better forwards in the league. And and
I mean, he did it with Ibrahimovic. He did it with Giadi Zardes. It's, I mean, both of them, Struna, and you wouldn't have told me that at the end of the 2 weeks that we had those two games that we would have only conceded one between the two, and one was just a penalty that couldn't even be called for. But to shut that kind of forward team down, it just shows how good they are.
I liked what Cisco said too. How about having a CV that can actually take set pieces? I mean, Figueroa's shot, he generates so much power on those shots. It's nuts.
So it's interesting because in this match against Columbus, in the second half, there was a free kick opportunity, and it was really close to the box. And I was with Josh at the game, and I told him he's gonna put it underneath the wall. And he's gonna shoot it really hard. It's like, no, everybody's like, no, he's going to try to, chip it over a wall.
Lift it over. He went down on the ground. Yep.
And he forced
a save,
Zach Steffen, to make a save.
And it was a good save, too.
And then they all looked at me and I was like, told you.
But that's the thing, right? Like, it's incredible to me. And I think, I think it's one of those things that it goes back to credit the Dynamo organization as a whole. Credit Matt Jordan, credit Wilmer Cabrera right now, that they're getting value. They're getting every last ounce of value out of the players they've brought in. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily from Fuenmayor, but you know what? You can afford to miss on 1, 2, 3 players when you're hitting on when you're hitting on 8 out of 10 of the players you bring in, you can afford to miss on 2. It's okay to miss on those 2. You're not going to hit 100% of the time.
And to be fair with you, I mean, at best, when Maillard is learning with Figueroa, at best he learns how to control himself, that he knows where to position himself. Because watching Figueroa play over the weekend, seeing how he's given Lundqvist the ability to roam the left, to roam forward, and let Memo drift in, and he covers that left as if we were just playing a back three with Vera just playing back just out of nowhere, just like it was nothing. It's beautiful how it works out because he can literally play a left back because he has played left back before. But he knows kind of where to position himself to allow freedom to that left side, which has flourished this year.
And one thing I've noticed, and it's Figueroa and Kiki both, their recovery when they make a mistake, they make up for it immediately. Kiki goes in, his slide tackle when another player has the ball and it's him versus one player, his slide tackle 9 out of 10 times is perfect. And that's a tough skill to have and to find in a CB. That's a value CB that's not going to cost you $7 million transfer fee.
I'll let him on Serie B. Just picking him out of the blue, we were excited to see how he would do. People were just saying, at best it's going to be some death. At worst, it's going to be a bust. And so far, he's proven otherwise.
And like I said, he's easily becoming one of the best CBs in MLS, paired up alongside Minor Figueroa. And I hope that pairing stays together this entire season because I would be completely okay with that. Because the way they're playing right now, there's just not a lot of forwards in the league that are going to beat them, consistently. And that's a very good.
And again, this is without Cabezas in the lineup. Put Cabezas through and let Vera actually play a little forward. It's a whole different ball game we're talking.
And how good has Vera been?
Story we'll be playing once he's in.
How good has Vera been? He's been impressive. He's been incredible. It's like.
But he can make the passes he wants to, but he knows he can't drift forward as much as he wants with Boniek there. He lets Boni does do that, but if you could throw him in there, put Cabezas in there, it's a whole different story how incredible this team can run its course.
Yes, and I think it's important for us to note before we kind of close this down that Edson's obviously watching RGV, but I think it's important for us to note too that one of the things that bringing in Vera did is it allows Boney, who is an aged player now, who looked like he was on his last legs last season, to push a little higher up and be able to find those cross switch balls, which he did last season, by the way. Cisco, good job calling those. He would switch the run a play to the other side of the field. Boney's a player rejuvenated too by bringing in Vera. I mean, nobody would have pegged Boney being the consistent starter at this point, and it's not like he's starting.
And you know what else has benefited out of that too? Tomas is finally not having to cut back, play deep, to run forward.
Yeah.
He's finally able to stay in his final third, push in as a second striker right next to Mauro, then drift back. He's slowly showing why he was brought in.
And we saw it Saturday. He led 3 different counterattacks as a guy playing high up the pitch, and they didn't die right away. Like, he was able to get the ball out wide or able to get it to Elise to run at the goal. And I just, there's so much to like right now that I'm still extremely excited. This team can still get better, which I think is scary in a very good way. This team still has room to improve. And I just, the more I see of this team play, like I said, it's a special team this year, and it's a special group of guys, and it doesn't matter. I want to see them play against some of the other big teams as well, but I don't think at this point it matters who you put in front of them. They're going to go out and play their way against them because they did it against Tigres, and if they can do it against, they didn't win, but they went out and played their style, and they proved to themselves they could against Tigres. They could do it against anybody in MLS, and they know it.
Yep. And the big thing is, when I was just looking at statistics in terms of just our team, before I can wrap this up, we have missed a lot of big chances to score, and it's there statistically showing. I'm looking at it. I was surprised at how many chances we've had. Those are goals that we could have, and I'm hoping that this Saturday that we make every single chance that we make that is there for Saturday.
All right,
I want to see another 5-0 Saturday. I need to see another 5-0.
Okay.
Every game that I've gone to against Frisco, I've never seen the Dynamo win. I've only seen them draw or lose. And that's out of 7 games that I've gone to.
Santos, you're banned from the stadium on Saturday. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm still gonna go. I'm hoping, out of all hope, that they throw 5 on them, and then this whole talk of Dallas or Frisco being Texas's team just dies now.
It's not happening.
It makes no sense on how they can be that team.
No, Frisco's not taking it this season. There's no doubt in my mind that Dynamo have their number this season for sure. So I was going to ask before before your call-ins, give me your bold prediction for Saturday's match.
Can it even be bold that every time I'm just going to say Figueroa scores? At this point, I want Figueroa to score the winner, and I want him to celebrate in front of the team that he got ditched out on. I want him to score and celebrate in front of their crowd when they come in on Saturday.
Edson?
I want him to score, and I want him to celebrate.
Yes.
Edson,
that's what I want.
Bold prediction?
Bold prediction. I'm going to say 5-1. Albert Elise scores a hattie.
Ooh.
I like that. I like that. 100%.
All right. 7-4 Dynamo.
Ow.
Hear me out. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's going to be a lot of counter-attacking. Nobody on the Dynamo scores a hattie, but everybody in the front 7 players, including Vera, scores a goal.
Oh.
My question is this: do you think Cabezas plays Saturday?
I do think that he has a chance to play Saturday, which is why I say the front 7, because I'm including him. I'm including him in that.
I think just 15 minutes, honestly.
No, I think he's ready to play at least a half. He's ready to play 60 to 75.
But are you willing to bench Boney since he's been playing well?
That's a hard one for me. That's a hard one for me because I mean,
Goal
on the one,
Goal RGV, Wilmer Cabrera Jr. Goal RGV.
Nice. I mean, on the one hand, no, but on the other hand, maybe he could use a little rest at this point in the season. When Cabezas came into the match for him alongside Vera, that one match he came in, I thought Cabezas looked great, and I thought the team didn't really lose a step. If anything, I thought the team improved. I say that if the team can improve, if Cabezas comes on the pitch, even starts for a half or a little more than a half, then I want that, especially against Frisco. But I think no matter what who we trot out on Saturday, I think this team, the way we're playing right now, Barrios is going to run at Lundqvist, but let him. Lundqvist can handle him stride for stride. Outside of Barrios and really that's
Pumko is actually an up-and-coming center mid for them that has done really well.
Sure,
very,
but here's the
good
thing.
Center mid at his age right now, and
he's
the only other threat that I see in that team.
But here's my thing. I think he's going to end up essentially battling against Vera for most of the game, and I think Vera's going to shut him down, no question.
Yep.
And I think if you start Cabezas and you put Cabezas on him, Cabezas is going to run that kid through. I want to see it so bad because I could just see the poor kid lying on the ground after Cabezas just fully runs him over. I don't know who starts. See, that's the thing right now. I'm not opposed to whoever Wilmer trots out there on Saturday. I have faith in this team right now. I believe in this team, no matter who gets played out there, because of how they're playing along the back line and along that front line. And they're playing it with interchangeable pieces. Even when Hairston was in there, the team still looked fine. It didn't look quite as potent, but it still looked fine. Still had plenty of firepower. Now, hopefully Tommy Mack doesn't get trotted out as, over Tommy Martinez, because Tommy right now is playing another level as well.
There's a fire that he's got now that he's ready to take. And to be fair, I mean, Tommy's just been put to the left, and it's not his spot, but injuries are kind of par for the course. It's just funny to believe that we actually put him on the left against LA Galaxy. If we had Hairston, maybe that's a different game. Maybe that's a different result. But see, that's the kind of thing that we have to realize, like, we didn't even play our best team against them, and we almost came out with a win. Unfortunately, went the other way around, though.
Yeah, no, like I said, I am excited for this match only because I know there's an added something to this match. And I know with the way the team's playing right now, that when you add a little something to the way the team's playing right now, that's, like I said, it's just scary in a good way, in an absolutely good way. But guys, hey, we have gone way over time. We definitely appreciate you guys hanging around for the extra 18 minutes. Next week, I'm going to tease it. We're going to talk about the local media coverage of Houston soccer, not just the Dynamo, but the Dash and RGV. What did you say, Edson?
I said there's coverage.
Oh yeah, there is technically coverage, but we're going to talk about that technical coverage because it's about as far as I can go with it. But we're also going to have Brett Zalaski come on the show. I've talked to him and he's agreed to come on next week to talk about what we as fans can do to apply pressure to local media to get some coverage of soccer here in Houston, more specifically the Dynamo, but just in general soccer fans to get some additional coverage, because I want to see this fan base grow. And one of the ways we can see it grow is if local media finally starts covering these teams, not just the Dynamo, but also the Dash and I think that will just amplify. And I think it's important for RGV fans as well, because yes, the local media technically cover the team down there, but not to the extent that they should. And most of it is Spanish coverage, not English coverage. So definitely something that'd be worth tuning in for RGV fans as well. That's Tuesday at 7:00. I don't have a time for when Brett will call in, but I'm going to schedule that with him and I'll let you guys know. But again, guys, thanks for joining the show tonight. We appreciate you guys. You guys are incredible. Harry, we try. And we appreciate every one of you joining us, considering that there is an Astros game going on right now. Glenn Davis has his show, Soccer Matters, that goes on Tuesday nights right now. and the Rockets play in about 15 minutes, which is why I'm ending this now. The fact that all three of these
playing
things,
right now,
and the Toros are playing right now, and yet we got 13 of you watching right now. That's pretty incredible, guys. So we appreciate you guys for sure. Make sure you join us next week. It's going to be an amazing show. We got a lot going on to talk about. And we have more discussion points. Like I said, we're going to talk about local media coverage because I got some good stuff I want to talk about. Guys, thank you again. Santos, thanks for calling in. We do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Nope, no worries.
I kind of just remembered Santos was still on the phone.
Dallas this Saturday.
That's right. Duck Phallus. Duck Phallus for sure. So guys, remember, forever orange.
Hashtag Weird Toros.
Dash TF on.
We are Gen Orange.
Took you a long time. Do our part.
One family.
Yeah. One Ohana. All right, Santos again, man. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Go Rockets tonight.
No worries.
Drop them in Oracle Arena, please. I want to see Golden State lose, even with the deck stacked.
With the refs.
And guys, remember, fuck Dallas.
Yeah. Wow, like you didn't hold back on that one.
Oh, that's it. Oh yeah, and David gets it right. Y'all means all, guys. Y'all means all.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care. We'll see each other next week. And don't forget, Down in the Valley tomorrow, because we'll be talking about what happens right now. Good night.
Nice. Night, guys.